And we just looked at a very simple filtering example. So what I'm going to do now is take it up just one notch and look at a little more complicated example of filtering. In this case, we want to move multiple rows of data around in our Excel file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a list box as my selector. And I'm going to display the data in a pie chart. So I'm just bring in the pie chart over here. And just so we see how the data is eventually going to move around, I'm also going to bring in a spreadsheet table. All we're going to be using with a spreadsheet table is just to see how the data is moving in Excel. We're going to actually look at the data in Excel and watch it real-time move as we click different values in our list box. So the first thing we want to do is to set up our list box. So let's click on the list box and look at its properties. This example, let's leave the title blank and let's go down to labels. For the labels, I'm going to choose, over here in column F, I'm going to choose all of these states. Now notice there's multiple Georgias, multiple Tennessees in our selection. In a moment, we're going to whittle those down to where we only see each value once. Let's go down to data insertion and go to our insertion type. The last time we chose row, and if we remember, row inserted one row of data into another area of our Excel file. In this case, we have multiple rows that we need to move whenever we select a state. So what we want to do is insert filtered rows. And if we look at our list box, now instead of seeing multiple Georgias and multiple Tennessees, we only see each value once. So what it does in the filtered rows is it looks at that particular column and looks for each unique value. And what it's going to do is whenever we select one of these states, each row that it's looking at that has that particular state's value, it's going to move that all those rows together into another area of our dashboard. In this case, again, we'll be moving it into the blue area of our dashboard we already have highlighted down here in our Excel file. So the first thing we want to do is to select our source data, which will be these yellow highlighted fields. So we're looking at different states and different cities in those states and the corresponding revenue for those particular states, or for those particular cities. So I've chosen F2 through H10. So I'm looking at columns F, G, and H, and we're looking at 9 different rows of data. Let me click OK. Now my destination will be these 5 blue cells down here. Whenever we're using moving around multiple rows of data, you want to make sure that you have enough destination rows for all of your data to move around in. So you want to make sure that whatever data is going to move around the most, that you have enough rows and enough columns of data to house that information that you're going to move around. So I've chosen cells F12 through H16. So it's going to be moving data from this yellow section into the blue section based on my selections of this list box. Now that we've set up our list box, let's come over here to the pie chart. The pie chart will be reading data inside this blue area. So for the pie chart title, we want it to read the name of the state. So the state's going to be in column F. So I'm just going to choose one cell for the title and click OK. You do not need a subtitle. Just delete that out. Now for the values are in column H. We're just going to select all the rows in column H that are in blue, rows 12 through 16, and click OK. For the labels, these will be the city names of the data in column G. I'm just going to highlight all the blue cells in column G. Make sure it's the same number of rows that you highlighted for the values, and click OK. And before we leave the pie chart, let's come over here to our Behavior tab and make sure that we ignore blank cells and values. That means if we only have 2 rows, it's only going to show 2 wedges. If it has three rows is going to show three wedges, and it's going to ignore any blanks at the bottom of our particular table in the Excel file. Now, just to see how the data moves around, let's come over here to our spreadsheet table. And we're going to just select all of the blue and yellow cells in columns F through H. The only reason why we're adding this in there is just so we can visually see how the data is moving around as we make different selections. So now that we've set up all of our different components, let's click the preview button. In this example, let's choose a state. Click Georgia. Notice it shows the different cities inside of Georgia. I can look at the different wedges of my pie chart and see the different values. And also notice that all three of my Georgian rows here have been moved into the blue area. When we click Tennessee, notice the updated pie chart, and notice how the blue area now is showing the same rows that are in the yellow area for Tennessee. And the same thing for South Carolina. So this is how filtered rows works. It moves all the corresponding rows that have this particular value that you're clicking on, and it's just moving those around in the Excel file. And we've positioned the pie chart to look at those same destination blue cells and display that data in pie chart form. And this is how we add filters to our dashboard.